Turf Business TV are now joined by the Chief Executive of the GMA, Geoff Webb. Geoff, good morning.
Morning.
Interesting news broke last week, I guess not unexpected, but with an event with around 9,000 people expected to attend over a couple of days, obviously safety has to come first. I mean, but do you want to give me the background to the decision to move SALTEX to the November schedule?
Yeah, well, obviously you can read the news just like we can, that the progress with the pandemic, unfortunately, has just counted against us since we took the first decision. And like that first time round, we just felt it's the most responsible thing to do, to act early, to take away, a lack of clarity, and to give everybody in the turf industry that clarity. And obviously went back to the NEC and talked about, can we return to November dates, which we feel is the safest bet for everybody.
Obviously, there's some talk about exhibitor and visitor surveys. Were they both equally of a mind to do the same thing, or was there a bit of a division?
There was a clear steer within the results that we got back, which just indicated, because really, again, it's totally down to the pandemic, that I think confidence was eroding from when we made the first decision. And like I said earlier, we all wanted to see progress with the pandemic, but I think in the recent weeks, even last few days, national lockdowns becoming regional and local lockdowns just started to count against that confidence. So what we want to do is take that lack of confidence away in our particular event and work with the market. And not only did we do the surveys, we talked to a range of people. So, for example, we had sessions with the Agricultural Engineers Association membership, and talked to other groups as well. And I think that's what we want to do. We want to work with our exhibitors and our visitors. And like you said in the opening, I think the ultimate thing is people want to go to that trade show with confidence. Be you a visitor, be you an exhibitor, or be it all my staff group, we've got a responsibility to everybody to produce the best show that we can.
Also, I guess exhibitors need a return on their investment. So any kind of prospect of a reduced value, shall we say, in terms of attending a show has got to be a consideration. Do you think by the time we get to November, you can put the show on as it would normally be? Is that your intention?
The way to answer that is we are completely ready, willing and able to run SALTEX. We would have been able to run it next week. And we've done all the mitigation work necessary to make it a COVID secure environment. I went personally to the test event run by government at the London Design Business School. And we had a flavour from working across the events industry on what you needed to do to make our show in particular, or any show, COVID secure. So I think I can reassure people that whatever rumours you may hear, if you were coming to a SALTEX event, you would be treated very, very well in terms of your safety and your security from the moment you came to the car park or arrived by public transport, right through to getting into the show. So, for example, our layout had increased the gangway sizes. We had new entrances planned, and we've got all that still on the map. So exhibitors don't have to change anything. The locations that you would have pre-booked are all the same. And we've got all those mitigating measures in place, but we just felt, and I think it's completely right for you to point out, it is about return on investment. And we take that really, really seriously for those people that pay us to attend our trade show. And we want them to have that return on investment. And I think November, I'd be more confident than March. But obviously we want to find a cure to the pandemic as well, to help everybody get back to normal.
I think we were speaking this time back in March this year. We'd be thinking this time was going to be okay, wouldn't we, in terms of, next week for a show. So who knows, I guess. Can we just get a little bit more on what a biosecure event is like then?
Yeah, so as you've probably seen a lot in the press with the way football's gone to government with protocols, really. So it's all around the processes and thinking about the venue probably in 3 chunks. So in the case of the NEC, you would, like I say, from the moment you arrived in your car or by public transport, be put into situations, so even down to the transport and the buses going from the car parks to take you to the venue. They will have more buses, but less people on them. So the social distancing measures that you need in place were all there. Sanitation points will be there in abundance. Heat checks, temperature checks. So if you were to arrive and, for example, you had a temperature, then you would be stopped at that point, and your group would be stopped alongside you. The NEC's actually got very useful videos explaining all of this to the general public, so that you can feel safe in that environment. And like you've seen and experienced in any high street or any venue where you might be going to get a coffee or just a snack, it's common sense approaches now. And I think clearly we're talking now just about over 12 months beyond where we are at this point, and we'll continue to learn from any event that starts to take place in the future as well.
Does it potentially mean a restriction on the number of visitors?
We've worked that through, actually. So in our case, the answer is probably not, because of the way that we can organise the footprint of the halls that we've got. And I think it's no secret that the halls weren't fully used. So we've used that extra space to create safe space for people to come in. So I would say that the restrictions that you might have thought apply, in our case, I think we're lucky that we've been able to mitigate against that. So I would expect that we can manage crowds right through both days and meet any protocols that are there. But again, there was meant to be a go live date in general for events of October the 1st, and the progress during September was that government ministers and public health officials all attended the same event that I personally attended and members of my staff attended. And then you had lack of progress with the pandemic. So everything is literally right now on hold. So I think it's making it very difficult to make decisions, because you've got that uncertainty, which is all purveying above everything else that you do. But certainly in terms of our organisational ability and working through with the NEC, who have a big venue. I mean, I think it's 200 million acres of land there. You've got a lot of space to work around the problem, and that's what people are doing. It's all about logistics. It's all about process. It's all about common sense and taking appropriate measures.
You're obviously working hand in hand with your exhibitors, without whom obviously you don't have a show, either financially or in terms of something that people look at. Are you seeing a resistance to them committing to November, or are they coming on board?
No, we like to try and talk to all our exhibitors. So first time around, I think you know this, that we phoned everybody in advance of doing the press release, and we've just done exactly the same exercise. All the calls, and I was making quite a few myself. I had really positive discussions, and I think the overriding word that I would use that's been fed back to me is sensible. I think people are actually relieved that we've done this, and we felt as a board as well, you know, some shows are trying to take it right to the wire, and we don't think that's responsible. So that's why we've taken the decision again as early as we feel we can do, and going out and doing the survey work that we did, you know, talking to visitors, talking to exhibitors, and for ourselves. I think we've done the responsible course of action again.
Well, it's a huge financial commitment for any exhibitor, not just in terms of what they spend with the GMA, but in terms of what they spend on hotels and organising staff, etc. So that takes a while to pull together. That's got to have an impact on the GMA going forward financially. Are you in a good position to deal with that?
It's going to hit us hard. There's no doubt about it. I mean, we're an event business as well as we are a membership business, and we rely on touch points and people to engage with us. So the honest answer is yes, it's going to hit us hard, but we've put, I think, diligent plans in place. We've got a strong board who don't sit back and wait for things to happen. They anticipate these things. And actually moving from Windsor many years ago to the NEC now has held us in good stead. So we will battle our way through. But I think, you know, it's going to be a tough year, but we're ready for that challenge.
Is that going to impact on what you can offer to your membership?
We've already started a transition. I think many membership bodies are looking in many ways at how they have operated to date and how they will operate in the future. So I think you'll see a lot more in the digital space, and I think we've already moved to that. I think you've seen that from us. Even this week, we'll be releasing our level 2 online winter pitches training courses. So you'll be getting press releases about that this week, which is progress. So I think we've realised that you've got to take what's happening around you and you've got to adapt to those circumstances, and that's what we're doing. Events is the most difficult part at the moment, but also face-to-face education courses are limited in what you can do. So that's why we've pivoted towards the online, and we're going to roll out more of that. We've done a series of webinars. But again, when we've looked at just the trade show analysis, asking the question, it's an obvious question to ask because you'll probably ask me this one anyway, indoor against outdoor. What surprised me is the volume of people who still looked at indoor as their first preference. So for us, it was 86% in the research that we've just got back. But I think what's happened with SALTEX is, don't forget, like you said in your opening, last year was our most successful year since we went to the NEC. I mean, It was a trade show on the rise. The only thing that's halted it in its tracks is this pandemic. Unfortunately, it's had an impact because annually, as you know, we've done the awards traditionally since moving to the NEC. And we feel that we've had to put the brakes on that as well. So, it's having a huge impact, but we've got some good ideas coming up through the next few months to maybe replace some of the things we haven't been able to do.
So is the awards shelved until 2021, or are you going to do something interim?
We're not going to do the awards through this next period. So we would have already been in it. So we've effectively not done that. And partly really because I think everybody's just fighting for their own sort of space at the moment. And we didn't want to burden them with the awards process, to be perfectly honest about that. I think sponsors themselves need a bit of a break and need to sort of reassess what they're doing with their own companies and staff, etc. So I think for us, it's a light touch approach. Like I said, I'm not going to reveal it now, but we've got, I think, a great idea coming forwards, probably in the springtime. And I think what we want to do is concentrate on making sure that we treat our customer base well, with respect. We communicate well and often, and I hope we're doing justice to that. And people can see that they can trust in our judgment. And let's hope that I won't be sitting here in June having this conversation for a third time.
No, fingers crossed on that one. Geoff, I know you're on a tight schedule today because you've got a number of these to do. So thank you for your time today. All I'd like to end up by saying is, we really want SALTEX back. The industry needs it. We need trade shows and events, getting people together. It's an important part of what we do. You've made the right decision. Let's fingers crossed that by the time we get to this time next year, we're all back to normal and we can have a really successful event.
Let's hope so. Like I said, ready, willing and able. We just need a cure.
Geoff, I'll let you get on. Thanks again for your time today.
Thanks, Martin.